Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Welcome back to The Binger. Friends may have finished way back in 2004, but it is still a worldwide institution. The series is packed full of belly laughs, but was it all fun and games on set? Jennifer Aniston, Lisa Kudrow, Courtney Cox, Matthew Perry, David Schwimmer, and Matt LeBlanc were the stars. But they were also paid to do a job. Jobs come with pesky contracts and a bunch of strict rules to follow. Let's take a look. We've already mentioned that broadcasting standards had a lot to say about things in the show, but so did writers. It was often up to them to keep the cast in check and make sure they weren't breaching any rules or doing anything naughty. If they did, then the show could face fines and a host of trouble. In one episode, Phoebe buys Chandler and Monica a Miss Pac-Man arcade game as a wedding gift. All three become addicted to it, and when Phoebe loses, she launches into a foul-mouthed tirade that is covered with classical music. Interestingly, Kudrow told fans in a Reddit AMA that she wasn't actually swearing. She said, "We pre-shot that part, and I think I remember Kevin Bright, our executive producer, laughing and saying, 'I know, but no one should even be able to read swear words on your lips.' Instead, Kudrow just babbled. So it was a firm no for swearing, or even looking like you were swearing on set. Considering the show's 8 p.m. pre-watershed slot, that's probably for the best. At least someone was thinking of the children, unlike Phoebe, who was in the middle of her rant when Ross walked in with his son Ben. If you're constantly late to any job, your boss is going to get pretty irritated, right? No one wants an employee that's being paid a fortune only to turn up when suits them. It just doesn't work and can cause all sorts of problems in the long run. On a TV show, not only does it set the rest of the cast members back, it costs money. There was a little bit of animosity between the girls and the boys of the cast at one point due to lateness. Jennifer Aniston told Us Weekly that David set up an intervention to combat her tardiness. She said, "David did it, very kindly, the day my alarm didn't ring." In the same interview, Lisa Kudrow said that the girls were often late while the boys would be waiting for them. This was because Aniston, Kudrow, and Cox would have to get ready first before leaving, she explained, while the boys could roll out of bed and be on set within minutes. The moral of the story is, get up in plenty of time and make sure you're at work right when you need to be. Typically, shows are planned out well in advance so that events can unfold in a manner that seems natural. Everything from character progression to big plot twists are all meticulously knitted together to make one incredible season. That doesn't mean that things can't change on a dime, though. From the very beginning, writers hinted that there was a mutual attraction between Joey and Monica, although it was subtle. Originally, writers had planned for the two to end up together. However, when Monica and Chandler hooked up in London, fans went wild. They loved the match. That response caused showrunners to go in a different direction, and the rest is history. The cast accepted the changes as they simply had to roll with the punches. If it felt right for the show, who were they to argue? Isn't it crazy to think that Monica, Chandler, and the twins almost never happened? Think about that for a moment. Monica's life with Joey might have looked very different indeed, although it has to be said that her organization matched with his chaos would have probably worked quite well. Actors are artists. That means a lot of the time they might have an opinion on what's going on during a certain scene. Friends has one of the most famous theme songs in television history thanks to the Rembrandts' "I'll Be There For You." It's a song that's catchy, emotional, and funny. It ticks all the boxes, for everyone else besides the actors, that is. According to Jennifer Aniston, the group didn't feel like the song or the original opening credits was a good idea. Apparently, they all felt that dancing around in a fountain seemed sort of odd. Despite their feelings towards the scene, the actors had no choice but to put up and shut up. If it was up to them, they wouldn't have done it, but the big bosses told them to do it, so they had to get on with it. This was just one of the many instances throughout the show's run where the stars had to do as they were told. Being difficult wouldn't have got them anywhere but fired, especially in the early days. One of the best things watching the show back now is the strong 90s aesthetic. The very early episodes are so nostalgic that it hurts, with Rachel's over-the-top wedding dress, Joey's floppy mane of black hair, and Monica's perfectly coiffed bouffant. As the years rolled on by, each character's look became part of pop culture. Rachel's layered hairstyle became insanely popular, with women across the world walking into salons hoping to get that same Rachel look. As a result, the actors weren't allowed to change their appearances drastically. Lisa Kudrow had to keep her famous blonde locks long so Phoebe's quirky hairstyles could be done. Even to this day, the cast have largely kept their styles like how they were when they were on the show. No one has gone and dyed their hair bright pink or shaved it all off. Courtney Cox has maintained her dark tresses, while Matt LeBlanc has let his silver fox shine. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Binger. Don't forget to turn on notifications. We all know how pesky YouTube can be. If you're on mobile, you can do this by going into the YouTube settings. Now, on with the show. No actor worth their salt is going to badmouth a show that they work on. It's just not the done thing. Sure, there are plenty of individuals out there who will sound off about something once it's wrapped, but not when it's active. Robert Pattinson gladly tells interviewers how cringeworthy the Twilight franchise is to him now. However, back when he was Edward and not Batman, he kept that to a minimum. No one wants to look a gift horse in the mouth. The cast of Friends had to keep the buzz around the show positive. Viewers need to feel the connection with the actors as well as the characters, and smiley happy faces in interviews helps that along. Whether it be a press tour or a personal cover story, the cast weren't allowed to bash the network, directors, bosses, anyone or anything related to the show. Thankfully, it looks as though it really was one big happy family. So this was probably an easy rule to follow, and not one that was an out-and-out lie. Things could have been very awkward otherwise. Back in 1996, there was a lot of concern over the salary of the main cast members. In fact, the dispute went so far that the 6 stars were prepared not to film until they got the pay increases they wanted. It was reported that Schwimmer, Cox, Kudrow, Aniston, LeBlanc, and Perry wanted $100,000 apiece. At the time, they were only being paid $40,000 each. While the negotiations raged on, the actors were still technically under contract and had to return to work. They had no choice but to report to set like usual, or risk breaching their agreements, which could lead to all sorts of messy things like lawsuits. Of course, the group would win out in the end, going on to be paid $1 million per episode in the final season. This is almost unheard of when it comes to TV, so it goes to show just how lucrative the series was for everyone involved. It's not just directors, producers, and writers that set the rules. The entire show had to adhere to broadcast standard specifications too. It's no secret that the series often focused on adult themes like relationships and, intimacy. Co-creator David Crane told Vanity Fair in 2012 that it was often difficult keeping up with the ever-changing rules. Words that could be used in the first 3 years were suddenly banned. Then sometime later, they would be okayed again. As a result, the cast had to be on top of the current regulations and not accidentally slip a naughty little word in there. If they did so by going off script, this could result in lots of wasted time and film. Everyone had to be on the same page, otherwise things could have been more confused than Frank Jr. in Refrigerator College. President of NBC Entertainment Warren Littlefield supposedly had a lot of battles with the standards agency too, fighting on the show's behalf. According to him, a lot of the themes explored on the episodes were socially responsible. Many working environments have policies to stop their employees from starting up relationships. After all, what might seem like a good idea after a few drinks at the office Christmas party can turn out to be a very awkward situation come January. TV shows are no different. If anything, when you've got something that's worth so much money, it's doubly important to keep things running smoothly. In 2016, the gang got together to celebrate the career of one of the show's writers. As they were being interviewed by Andy Cohen, some very interesting information came to light. The Bravo TV personality asked Schwimmer, Kudrow, Aniston, LeBlanc, and Cox about the show's no relations contract clause. After a few awkward glances and a lot of laughter, David Schwimmer simply said, "Well, that got broken. We don't know how, when, where, or with who, but fans had a field day with that one." Clearly, it was a short-lived thing between two castmates and not a long-term relationship a la Chandler and Monica. Hopefully, we'll get the real dirt if someone releases a memoir. In any big show, there's one rule that reigns above all. No spoilers. Sure, Friends didn't exactly have us on the edge of our seats like Game of Thrones, but audiences were invested in the characters. If one of the cast members had dropped a clanger, it could have had devastating consequences. For instance, can you imagine knowing that Ross and Rachel finally get back together when the series wraps?
I got off the plane.
It would have spoiled a decade's worth of ups and downs, wouldn't it? It's likely that the entire gang were under strict instructions to not let the cat out of the bag. The smelly cat, that is. They did a good job of it, too. Audiences remained hooked until the very end. In fact, we're still obsessed with it all these years later, and that's a great sign if there ever was one. There you have it. What do you think? Was it worth the $1 million an episode if it came with these rules? It certainly beats flipping burgers. Let us know your thoughts below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.